Welcome to the Collaboration Conversation, a listener-supported video podcast where Christian artists, entrepreneurs, and friends share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. This podcast is made possible through generous listeners and friends like you, and we are so very grateful to our supporters. We also want to say a special thank you to Top Jump for supporting Project Brickworks. For locations and ticket information, head over to topjump.com. If you would like to sponsor an episode, head over to thecollaborationconversation.org, click sponsor an episode. Likewise, if you want to check out or support our nonprofit ministry Project Brickworks, head over to projectbrickworks.org. Today, our very special guest is Jeff Boyet. Jeff has quite the diverse resume. He is currently the associate pastor of Grace Chapel in Fairview, Tennessee, but he has spent years as a singer-songwriter, an actor, and as a theater teacher. This is going to be, for me, quite the conversation because we have a lot in common that you don't know about yet, and I'm excited to tell you. But this is just going to be super fun. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm really stoked about this. I think it's really cool that a mother-daughter team gets to do this and that you guys get to spend time together and just do something that you both love in the same room together, which a lot of parents don't get to do with their kids. So yay for that.
Very sweet. Thank you. Yes, it's definitely a blessing. And we both learn a lot through this process. It's awesome. Well, before we jump in, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you remember in 2002 being in All's Well That Ends Well at the Nashville Shakespeare Festival?
Absolutely.
I was in that show. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was 11 and I was in The Apprentice Company. And
what?
I know. And as soon as she said your name, I was like, I've been in a show with him. I remember your name, it all came flooding back. And then I know you did R&J in 2012. Is that right? 11-ish. But did you by chance see it in 2003, the year after All's Well?
Which show was it?
I'm sorry, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, it was Romeo and Juliet in what year?
It was 10 years before you did it. The year after All's Well in 2003, too.
I don't think I saw that one.
That's okay. I just was curious because
yes, I did.
No, quit it. Thank you. No, I did my mom was really hoping that you saw it because I did this little cell phone bit about turning your cell phone off. It was funny. Anyway,
but that's the only thing that would have made it memorable, right?
Right. I'm a 12-year-old in the Apprentice Company, so I had nothing to do with anything else. But I just thought it was funny. And then also I read an interview that you did where someone asked you about when you were first introduced to Shakespeare in the Park, and you said actors cannot hide from Shakespeare, and I was like, well, ain't that the truth? Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we were.
That is very cool. We have to find a photo. I'll call Denise Hicks and see if she has photos.
Just any cast photo. That would be amazing.
That's incredible. That show, All's Well That Ends Well, terrified me. It was my first NSF show.
Yeah.
Or Nashville Shakespeare. And it was not only, I had a very small role. I had a couple of roles here and there. It was nothing, but I had to understudy the main role. So I was terrified. And then I don't remember, was it Brian Sears that was the lead in that? I think it was. He did this, one of the main actor would jump off the top of this huge balcony and land. And I would just gasp every night because I was like, he's going to hurt himself.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to go on stage tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
Or tonight.
When we talk about acting, I'll tell you another story where that actually did happen to me, where I had to go on. I had 2 nights to learn all of the main parts because somebody got hurt. So much smaller audience, but same kind of
thing. Well, let's talk about it. We'll go back and talk about other stuff.
Okay.
What show was that? Yeah,
so my very first introduction to theater, really, in front of I'm outside of high school, professional introduction to theater. I did Othello at Chaffin's Barn Dinner Theater.
Yeah, we're familiar.
And it was great. It was in the backstage. It was a small production, but But John always had a good cut of Shakespeare, so it always made sense to the audience, and it worked to where he could get those breaks in to where people could refill the drinks in between, And so we had our intermissions, but we had a show one night, and I don't remember the lead actor's name. It's been so long, but I played just another small role, and there was one of the scenes where there was an alley fight, and he was supposed to stab and kill me. And I went out on stage, and I can't show you physically what he did, but literally the blades that we used, it's going to sound so terrible. We used blades. They were not sharp. They were dull, but they were metal. They were steel.
Oh, no.
And like you poke hard enough, it's going to go through something. Oh, no. And so this poor actor, he reached back, and he's supposed to come in, and then, with the blades coming toward you, turn, and then he hits me with the back of the wrist, and then I sort of fall down and blah, blah, blah. Well, he reaches back, and he sort of lunges, and he hits this. Oh, I wish I could show you. He hits the back of his leg, goes through and pokes his knee with this dull metal blade. It would be like taking a pencil with an eraser side and poking it through your leg.
Oh my gosh.
I don't mean to laugh.
but he stabbed himself.
But here's where it went sideways. I was supposed to die, and he was nowhere near me. Oh, no. So I leapt on him, and then and died. And then the lights go down, and then I guess it was scene change, or that was the end of the intermission. We went back to the back, and his knee was it was swollen already.
Oh,
it was bloody,
no.
all kinds of stuff. He decided he could finish the show. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But he finished the show, and then that night they said, "Jeff, you're going on."
Wow.
And I was like, "What?" So I had one night to. I think it was a Saturday. Maybe I had 2 nights. I had Sunday and Monday to memorize all of the lines and then go on as the lead on Tuesday night when we opened.
Jeez.
And, in most shows, I would be like, yeah, that's great. I can do, that's fine. In Shakespeare,
yeah,
you can't fake Shakespeare.
No.
You get lost in Shakespeare. There is no...
there's no ad-libbing your way through that.
Yeah.
There is no improv or ad-lib.
Yeah.
No.
And I bet you when you came around with that knife, you came around your leg. You touched your leg and was like, no.
Well, it never occurred to me that he could have done that to me anytime he did it. So luckily he hit himself, I guess. So
jeez.
Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
Injuries happen.
Injuries,
and understudies go on.
They do. They do go on. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we've done a show together. I just think that's fun.
Yay!
And
I knew we knew each other. I could feel it.
Yeah, you could feel it. And I feel like you played a soldier in that. I know you said you had a small part, but right before intermission, all of the apprentice companies and all the soldiers came out in the 2 aisles. So I'm pretty sure we had a scene together as well. So I'm here for it. Guaranteed.
That's funny.
Anyway, we can get back on track. I've just been dying to tell you that story.
Well,
I love that.
Obviously because you have been a teacher in the small town where I live. I know your name, and people will say it all the time. If Sarah's got a new show out or a movie's come out or something, and they're like, "Yeah, but did you see the play that the middle school did?"
Yeah,
and Jeff Boyet.
So true.
It's every time. Your name has been mentioned the last 10 years of my life, and I hadn't met you.
And I'm always like, yeah, but I was in a show with him, so
I know. But and I always say, well, I'm pretty sure my daughter was in a show with him years ago.
that's so funny.
So yeah, while we didn't know you, we were bragging about that show.
Yes, we were bragging.
Well, so you and I met recently, which is crazy that we haven't met before now, but especially since I was at every single one of those shows because she was 11 and she had to have a parent.
At every show.
What did I see? I saw 18.
You saw 18 productions
of that show. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But anyway.
Too many. How many did Billy see so I can rub that in the face?
None.
None that year.
Ah.
None that year, but Romeo and Juliet, he took me to all of the...
So this is how we handle it. He handles the rehearsals. So y'all rehearse for 6 weeks or something. So he takes her.
And then we have 2 weeks of apprentice training as well on top of that.
He does all that, and then I go to all the shows. And I have no idea. Oh, because it's after work. I worked full time and he was off during the summer.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it was good.
Yeah.
Y'all had a good system.
We did. Anyway, so you and I just recently met, which is crazy, at a restaurant. I work for a country band, and we were there watching them. And Brandy, my one of my best friends, said, "Have you ever met Jeff?" And I'm like, "No, but I've heard everything about him." So you came down and we met, and I'm like, "Would you be on our podcast?" And you're like, "Sure." So, and then we ran into you again at Elevation Sports fundraising banquet. You were the MC, and I guess you're on their board of directors. So small world. We finally met, and I was so excited to
I've been so excited to tell that story. I don't know
right?
why.
Well, all right. So you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your family, and what you do.
Sure. So it's always interesting. I don't know, Diane, if you go through this, but when somebody says, "Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself," you go, "How far back do I go?" I'm really old. So,
Yep.
So I mean, I'm from Missouri originally. I graduated from a very small high school in Missouri, just south of St. Louis. We graduated with 700 people. So it was not small at all. And we only had sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And each class after my senior class was bigger than the next.
Gosh.
Jeez.
And so it was a huge school where to this day, I'll look at a yearbook and go, I have no idea who any of these people are.
Right.
But graduated from there and went to Southeast Missouri State University in Cape Girardeau, studied mass communications with a radio option, and was a minor in criminal justice. And really wanted to be a DJ. Really, really, really badly wanted to be a DJ. I thought that would be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then my senior year, probably the summer before my senior year, I interned at a radio station called KMOX in St. Louis. They're famous for, for many, many things, but they have the Cardinal baseball games.
Oh, right.
And so when I was doing that, I met a bunch of celebrities and really I fell in love with the producing side of radio and thought that's where I was going to go. Went back, finished my senior year, and then sort of had this drive. I was recruited pretty heavily in criminal justice to work in the DEA. Huh. I think it was because of I had a little bit of acting background in high school and stuff, and they thought we need this. Small town, Cape Girardeau. And that ended up not happening because the girl that I was engaged to at the time, who is not my wife, said, "I'll never marry you if you become a DEA agent." And we never married anyway. So,
oh my gosh.
Golly.
Yeah, but that's okay. And I got out of that, started working for a Christian radio station in St. Louis called WCBW. I think it's still around. But I was in sales. I didn't get to do my dream of DJing, but I was in sales because somebody told me, "Don't be a DJ. There's no money there. It's all in sales." So I worked in sales, but I was also part of bringing in artists for events and for concerts. And I met so many artists and have so many great stories through that, probably all of them live right here in Nashville. And so when they would come in, I would just sit down and talk with them. And do you remember the great Kathy Tricoli?
Oh yeah.
So Kathy Tricoli came, and she was the nicest, kindest. And at that point, I had decided I was going to move to Nashville.
Good.
So fast forward a couple of years, or now probably a year or less. I moved to Nashville. I'm in an apartment. I have one of those old answering machines that you literally had to push a button and it you wound it, and that's
You might be old. Anyway. You might be older than you look.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I get home and there's this message on my machine, and it's her.
Yeah.
You can't hide her voice. She's very Northern, very, very Yankee. And she said, "Jeff, it's Kathy Tricoli. I was at the studio and they told me that you had moved there. And I wanted to know if you just wanted to get together for lunch. If you don't mind, if you want to, if you're interested, just give me a call at 615-423.
Oh, no.
Thanks. Bye." And I was like, what just happened? What just happened? And then I got to thinking, and I called my buddies at the radio station. My buddy Kurt Wallace, it was the DJ. I called him and I said, "You're a jerk." And everybody in the studio laughed, including Kathy Tricoli, who they had put this poor lady up to calling me and doing the joke. And I was like, "You have got to be kidding me." I was so excited. I was like, I know no one. Now I know one person.
Right.
Not at all. And so Kathy Tricoli and I did not get together much.
Oh, no.
But that's hilarious. You have good friends.
I do have good friends. We play a lot of jokes. So I think I skipped over a little bit there, but I got the story was I felt the Lord pulling me to Nashville to pursue a music career.
Yeah.
And I did. I sold my house in St. Louis. I resigned from my job and I moved to Nashville knowing zero people moving into an apartment. And then just started pounding the pavement for music.
Well, tell us about the job that you landed at was it at the Ryman?
Yeah, at the Ryman Auditorium. Yeah. So, as a songwriter, I was a songwriter and a singer. I was doing many, many different things.
Yeah.
And then there was an audition actually advertised in the newspaper. Back in that time, they had done the Patsy Cline musical. They had done the Lost Highway, the Hank Williams musical, and their third musical, they wanted to do the same kind of thing with Don and Phil Everly, the 50s rock legends, the Everly Brothers. And so I went in and auditioned, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people there, and they teamed us up with different people because you had to kind of look alike, and you had to kind of sound alike, and you had to create this sort of sound. And I landed amongst all those people, landed the gig as Don Everly, the lead singer.
Yeah.
Jeez.
My gig was every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
Yeah.
And then we started it off. We sort of workshopped it in Lubbock, Texas for a couple of months. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life as far as professionally, because you don't just stand up on the stage of the Ryman. I literally was performing every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
That's insane.
And these legendary country music artists would come and hear us, and new country music artists.
Yeah.
It was so surreal. Like we were celebrities.
Yeah. That's great. How long did that show run?
It ran so I was hired in February of 98, and that thing went till October, the end of October of 98. So what is that, 9 months? Something like that. Yeah, that was a pretty long show.
Yeah.
And there were so many things. I have pretty bad allergies. And so I had to really be careful throughout the week. So we'd shut the show down on Saturday. We'd have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to recuperate because we live in the Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
And like if I didn't recover, I literally had to hide in the house. I would mow my yard on a Sunday because that would give me plenty of time. Yeah, crazy. So did that, and that was an incredible experience, and have a massive repertoire of songs that if somebody says, "Hey, play a little Everly Brothers," I'll do it. And then sadly, we lost both of those guys. Don just recently passed away, and Phil had gone a couple of years before him. But when Phil died, we actually did some tribute shows. Created Matt Newton and I, my buddy who played Phil in the show. We had kept in touch, and they reached out to us and said, "Would you be willing to do a kind of a show in memory of Phil?" And we did. And then we haven't done anything since Don. Since then there've been so many Everly Brothers acts that have come out, tribute bands, and it's kind of a difficult place to put your vocal range in, and it kind of hurts the vocal cords a little bit. So we have not done it since then, but man, it was quite an experience.
That's so cool.
That's incredible.
Well, at some point you got a family.
At some point.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh, them.
My story behind that too. When I moved, before it was right after me moving to Nashville, I moved to Bellevue. Kathy Tricoli actually told me to move to Bellevue. She said it would be so she could play tricks on me.
Yeah.
But so I met this kiddo who's several years younger than me at a gym, and he knew that I didn't know anybody. He's like, man, you want to hang out, go grab a burger, go to a movie or something? It's like, that would be great. Well, I think after us doing that a couple times, he called up his sister and he said, what are you doing and what are you wearing? And she's like, what? What a weird question. She said, why are you asking? He said, I'm going to bring one of my friends over to meet you. And she said, no, I'm not interested in meeting many friends. And he goes, no, this one's different. So I went over to the house and walked in, and my wife was sitting there. And she was, it's funny, you hear her say it. She was trying to repel me by doing, get this, she was doing her Bible study, preparing for her Bible study on Sunday. And she thought, no way, this dude. And I was like, yes.
Oh.
So we hung out. We were buddies for 6 months. We didn't force anything. We didn't rush anything. It's like the three amigos. And then finally, she and I kind of got together in February, Valentine's Day of '96. We became official.
Cute.
And then the day after Valentine's Day in 1997, we got married.
Very cute.
Wow.
I love that.
Very
happy.
Only because Valentine's Day was on a Friday and not on a Saturday.
Right. Happy belated anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25th. Yeah. So,
oh, wow.
And then we have two sweet baby girls. I got a senior in high school. Her name is Jordan. And then I have a junior at the University of Alabama. Roll Tide.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the interview's over now.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting you.
Okay.
No, so she's a junior. What's she studying?
She's in business marketing.
Okay.
And there's this terrified me when she told me, but it's social media marketing. I thought, no
thanks.
No.
There's so much money there, though.
There is so much money there. Like
there.
Somebody had to talk me down and say, I had a friend who worked for the government and he got taken away by another company that gave him $30,000 more. And I was like, okay, go ahead, go for it.
Congratulations.
Become independent.
Yes.
That's cool. Did you? You said your senior in high school is Jordan. And does she know where she's going?
She got accepted to UT Knoxville, to Ole Miss, and to Western Kentucky.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, Lord, we're going to have SEC children, and they're going to fight all the time.
Yep.
And she actually chose Western Kentucky, loved it, and we are celebrating.
Yes.
Because Western Kentucky, it's kind of in-state tuition. They give a great scholarship.
Yeah, they do.
So
and close. I mean, that's not too bad of a drive.
No, about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Oh, but you guys are almost empty nesters.
Well, my mom and dad live with us.
Oh.
You'll never be empty nesters.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
And we're happy to have them. They've been with us for 5 or 6 years now. They moved to Nashville, had their own place. And then when we built our house, we knew that we built it with 2 master bedrooms, knowing that they were going to live with us someday. So
nice.
So they live with us. So yeah, we'll be empty nesters of our children, but our mom and dad will still.
You'll still have fun.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Well, so then at some point you became a teacher.
I did. Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, so I was, so many kind of popping around all over the place. When I started professionally acting, I told you about the Shakespeare. I did the first production of Othello, and then just did local theater. I did Tennessee Rep, Nashville Shakespeare Festival, Mockingbird Theater, if you remember that from years and years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did those and several other theater companies. And then Chaffin's Barn. I did a lot with Chaffin's Barn. And I eventually was doing, did you ever see any productions? This is at the Nashville Children's Theater.
I saw one thing at Nashville Children's Theater and I couldn't tell you what it was. Sorry.
You couldn't tell me what it was.
No.
Yeah. I wondered back at that age, if you had ever seen any of those things. Anyway, I was doing a production of Seussical.
Yep.
And I got a phone call from a New York phone number. And I was like, I don't even know what this is. I answered it. And it was an agent in New York. And she was literally following up on a reference from somebody that I knew who was a music director in town, and he would go back and forth in New York. And they were looking for an understudy for the main role in Ring of Fire, the Johnny Cash musical.
Yep.
Ooh.
Wow.
And they basically said, just get on a plane. We'll pay for it. Come here. You literally, all you have to do is pick up a guitar, play a song, and we'll offer you the understudy because we're that desperate.
Best phone call.
So I was like, well, let me talk to my family about it and pray about it, and got off the phone. Jordan was a baby. I think she was 3. Sydney was, it would have been me leaving. It was a 9-month contract and living in New York and without my family. And I was like, what am I doing?
Oh.
Like, to do an understudy role that I'll probably never see the stage. Like, this isn't. So I said, no, I don't want to do it. Because it was just too long. And I stayed at home. It turned out that show, I think, only lasted like 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Or something like that, maybe 2 months. And so it would have been like literally a vacation in New York, and I got paid to be there. But I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be 9 months.
Yeah.
So after that, it was kind of this thing that I was battling back and forth. And I was like, Lord, if that's the major leagues of what I love to do, and I'm saying, no, I don't have any interest in the major leagues, then what do you have for me? And not long after, I went back to Lipscomb, got my master's in education, he picked me up and dropped me, 7 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
The theater position became available at Fairview Middle School because they were building this big, new, beautiful building. They wanted somebody to come in and set up a program. And so my good friend Gary Schrader and Glenda Sullivan, who were the principal and assistant principal at that time, hired me, and I was there for 7 years. And instead of being able to do what I was passionate about as far as being an actor, I got to be passionate and let other kids' talents come out and sort of, teach them how to become better actors and how to be passionate about their art.
That's amazing.
And you did such a great job. I mean, a lot of those kids go to my church, right? And so it's just, you hear about all of the shows. I mean, name just a few of them.
Well, I mean, we did the Lion King was a big one for us. Like,
yes.
that was massive. We spent probably 9 months getting ready for that with creating the costumes. They weren't just like little, I'll get you some pictures. We literally had the whole Broadway style costumes. And
wow.
And so that was a big one. I think the most, there was a production we did called, this is where it sort of all changed, where the program went from, wow, this is a really good program, to, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
We did a show called And Then They Came for Me. It was about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And it was about Anne Frank's boyfriend and her best friend, and really from their perspective and not from Anne's perspective.
Okay.
Very artsy show, but man, it dealt with some topics that you're just like, whoa, I mean, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And so that was the one where I went, these kids need to be challenged. Like, it's fun to do little fun shows.
Right.
They want to be challenged. And not only is it good for them to be challenged, it's good for the kids who are receiving it and watching it to see, oh my gosh, like, there's history behind these shows. It's not just, I'm going to go watch a little play.
Right.
And then I think one of the other more powerful, and then it sort of turned me on my ear that I was like, okay, we're going to do this to impact people's lives. That's, unfortunately, it's not how I approached it. It was really about how much money do I have and how much money can I spend and whatever. And then when it became about changing people's lives and art really affecting them, I started picking really controversial plays. And I did one called The Yellow Boat. And I went to Gary Schrader and I said, I want you to give me the approval for this. If you're okay with it. And he took it home and he read it. It's about a boy who contracts AIDS. He had a blood disease and he got a transfusion.
Oh, wow.
And he got AIDS.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most beautiful plays that I had seen, but I wanted out, and he dies. He literally dies at the end.
Oh, wow.
Garrett, my principal said, absolutely go for it. This will be incredible. Well, I invited everybody to it, including back then it was one of the second in line of superintendent. And he said, he saw me afterwards and he said, we're going to send a film crew and we're going to interview these kids and the other people need to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And one of the kiddos that I made as the lead had never done a show before. We still keep in touch to this day.
Oh, yay.
His name is Logan, and he's a senior in high school right now. But he'd never done a show. He was like, I've never done a show. I'm terrified of this. But the reason I selected him, Logan has a condition, and I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what it is, but he'll proudly walk around and tell you that like he could have an aneurysm and just drop any day of his life. And so he carried that around every day and it never got in the way of his joy. He never walked around. He had a smile on his face. He loved people, everybody loved him. And I got a little action going.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But so they loved it. And he was the lead of that show. And at the end of that show, when he would take his let me go back. In order for him to do it, I said, your mom and dad need to read this.
Oh, right.
I don't know if they're going to be able to sit up there and watch you,
Yes.
go to heaven every night. And so they did. And they were like, if you think that the Lord has called you to put him in that position, then I am 100% in agreement. Yeah. So he did, and he was incredible. And to this day, that I get a lot of people say that's the most powerful thing I've ever seen a middle school do.
Well, it's funny. You were impacting the kids at the school, the kids in the play and the kids in the school, but you were also impacting the teachers and the parents and the families and the community. And then if they're bringing a film crew in, the whole district. I mean, it's just really kind of awesome, all of the things that you were doing, but that God was doing through you in those shows. That's awesome. Well,
and it was. Go ahead. I was just going to say that's one thing that I don't ever want to forget. Like my 7 years there, were, some of the best times that I had were relationships with all those people that you mentioned. Yeah. Like that's how God kept me going through that and keeps me going today is through relationship. And I still have a relationship with these kids. My wife calls me the mayor. They will drive separate cars to restaurants because they want to leave. And I'm talking to people throughout the restaurant, making around.
That's so funny.
Love that.
Because we were talking and I think you guys were having a birthday party and I'm just like, you can go back. I feel really bad.
The mayor, though. That's really funny.
That totally describes you. Well, so, go ahead.
It was more of a thank you. It's so weird and off script, but and if anybody is in theater, they know that theater teachers are some of the most influential people in actors' lives. And I'm going to get emotional.
I know. You probably need to stop talking.
I probably should stop talking. But I don't know if you remember Miss, I don't know if you would have called her Aubrey or Van Hook, but Miss Van Hook, she was very involved with the Nashville Shakespeare Festival. She was my middle school theater teacher, and she was incredible. So first of all, shout out to her. But I had a really bad theater teacher in high school. And I'm so in awe of the way that you take care of your kids and the way that you, like you said, develop these relationships with the parents and the community, and that they put their trust in you to trust their kids with something that's, a time in their lives that's really vulnerable and in a place that's really vulnerable. The theater is such a vulnerable place, the stage is. And so for you to have that trust and to take that responsibility really seriously and to do it really well, it just really is impactful to me. And so I'm thanking you, even though you weren't my teacher, but for doing that.
That would have been pretty cool if you had been.
Yeah.
Well, so, Miss Van Hook, is that what she was now?
She's now Miss Van Hook.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you remember working with her at all?
Yeah, but not Van Hook. I know the name Van Hook now, but
Luella she was Aubrey at the time, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Sarah didn't really have a choice. She was going to be an athlete, whether she liked it or not. And then Miss Van Hook got a hold of her.
And my very first thing was the Julius Caesar. Well, who was it? The monologue from Julius Caesar was Mark Antony. Is that? Yeah. Friends, Romance, Countrymen. It was my very first role ever with Shakespeare.
And she
made me
that.
do it,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
And she kept saying you could do it. But, you had to be 16 to audition for the Apprentice Company. And Miss Van Hook was like, yeah, except for her. So, they're 16, 17, and 18, and Sarah at 11 and 12. I mean, she just was. She invested,
Yeah.
And really, I mean, she played sports all the way through high school, but I never really, I never got that satisfaction. She became an actress.
Yeah.
Had to do all that stuff. So, okay, so I write these.
I would say, like, the confidence that it develops in kids. You don't stand up there on stage by yourself in the lights with, 200, 300 people looking at you and getting ready to, especially Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Without having a certain confidence, you can't do that. Like, if you go up on lines in Shakespeare, you're done. And so you have to be confident that you know your lines. You have to be confident that you are inflecting the right lines, that you are doing because the people here's the other deal. The people that are watching Shakespeare, they know their stuff.
Yeah.
They're not randomly going, well, it was between the Titans and Shakespeare, and I chose Shakespeare.
Yes.
Right? No, they know why they're going. They are fans of Romeo and Juliet and All's Well That Ends Well, which probably is one of the, I don't know if you've thought back about it. It's one of the worst Shakespearean productions, like
the hardest.
Written. It's one of the worst pieces.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, but the production that Denise that we did was outstanding, and it made sense. But you read it and you go, man, this is just by yourself with nobody putting anything into it. You're like, this is not good.
Not the best. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Romeo and Juliets and the Hamlets and all of those.
Right.
Well, so and this is on me because I write our little outline that we go from, and I just really don't feel like we've given you enough time to talk about some of the acting. What about what were some of your favorite things that you did?
Gosh, well, I mean, oh my goodness gracious, that's such a difficult question.
I know. You how long did you act? I mean, it was a decent portion of your life. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, about 20 years. Yeah. And it was fortunate enough to be able to go from season to season. It was always terrifying because you audition for these shows. You're like, well, I'm not right for that one. I'm not right. You could look at them and go,
yeah,
all right, I'm right for this percentage of shows in a particular theater season. If you look at Tennessee Rep and go, okay, I'm right from here to here, but I can't do that one. What can I fill in that gap? And then you audition hoping that you can fill that gap with this one. And sometimes you can't. And sometimes you go unemployed for a season. And, I started really kind of honing in on my skills with all of my directors and friends at Chaffin's Barn Dinner Theater. And then in 2001, I got my first role at Nashville Children's Theater. It was called Gatherings and Graveyards. And it was a really intense production where I made so many friends and sort of established myself kind of in that field. And Renee Copeland, the great Renee Copeland, directed it. And Scott Copeland was her husband. Bless his soul. He had passed some time back, but he really, I had auditioned for him several times and never had a shot. And then she cast me, and then being able to work there, then he started believing in me and he got to know me and he was like, I got to have this kid in my shows. So I would say anytime we did Seussical twice. And Seussical, I played Cat in the Hat, just a blast. Just really incredible. Romeo and Juliet in later years I did for Shakespeare. And I enjoyed Shakespeare, but Shakespeare really was the thing that terrified me. It was terrifying to me because we draw 1,000 people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And you're like, whoo. And yeah, but anything that I did with them. And then maybe one of the most fun things that I did at Tennessee Repertory Theater, they somehow got the script of A Christmas Story. And Renee Copeland kind of worked to deal with the writers where she could sort of change it and make it a little interactive. And so I think I did A Christmas Story. I played the old man in A Christmas Story 3 years in a row at Christmas. And I think they ended up doing that thing. They did it maybe 10 years, 8 years, like that.
That's great.
And so that was great as well. And of course, the Everly Brothers show. There was a lot. But I think really what I walked away with from all of those shows, and I did some really, really great shows, and there were some stinkers in there too. But the relationships were always the thing that you walk away with going, man, like some of these people I still talk to and communicate with and love, and it developed into other things. It developed into either small independent films or little fun movies or things like that. So I don't know that I could say that I had a favorite of any, but there was a lot of shows there.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Well, so I'm not positive. I'm going to have to go back and ask him, but I think my husband, since he's a school teacher, has been to the children's theater
quite a bit, probably.
Probably. I think that he's seen the Seussical one a couple of times. So that would be funny.
Yeah.
I'll go check the dates and see if you by chance were in him at the time that he was going to see him.
Okay, so then you taught, and now you're an associate pastor. So talk to me about that leap.
You don't get that transition?
It's not coming to me, so if you could just help me out.
No, it's great. So taught for 7 years at Fairview Middle School, and in the last 2 years of that, I started working on my doctorate because I was ready to move forward to the next step. And the next step to me was administration, to be an assistant principal, to be a principal, to go into superintendent work. And that's just where I thought I was going to be. And there was this very interesting thing that happened. Like I got my doctorate, but there was this, so through Lipscomb University, the education doctorate is you're writing a thesis, but it's more of a research thesis. So you're doing research. So you're collaborating with a company or an organization or a school that's already going on, right? And mine was Metro Davidson County Schools. And they had so much going on, and they are so diverse. And we had basically what we had was an opportunity to join Metro Davidson County Schools and try out this program for their ESL kids, for their English as a second language kids. And we got to see it work. We'd go to the school, we'd watch it, we'd interview everybody, how they developed it. And there was a delay. Like they had things going on. I don't blame anybody. And honestly, it's the Lord's timing. But there was this delay. And so I didn't even graduate with the class that graduated. It was me and another person that were working together on this. And our graduation got delayed by the next semester. And I think it actually even took longer than that. But it was all because we didn't have what we needed working and collaborating with the schools. And it was frustrating because through that time, had I graduated on time, my very own school, I had an opportunity to be the assistant principal at my very own school. I had my doctorate and my admin degree, but they held back my admin certificate until I was completely graduated. And I couldn't graduate because we were waiting on Metro Schools. Jeez. And again, they wanted it right. They hit some bumps in the road with the program. And anyway, we ended up getting it. I then had a year to try and really plan and interview and try to find new AP jobs. And there were some opportunities that I thought for sure was like, I'm gonna have an opportunity here. And none of those things panned out. And it was really kind of a punch in the gut. And I don't know why. Like I don't place myself above all the other really talented administrators who have been fighting for it longer than me. And so there was just nothing that was available. And our lead pastor, Ian Gilchrist, who was a friend of mine, and I'd been serving in the church. Right. But he came to me and he said, if I asked you to be my associate pastor, would that interest you? And I was like, man, I don't know. I had all this stuff going on with administrative, and I could be an AP and big salary and blah, blah, blah. And all of those doors just kept shutting and shutting and shutting. And then eventually I went home, my wife and I prayed about it. And I said, what do you think about this? And she said, I think that's where God's calling you, it sounds like. And then my kids, it was always important for me, even in school, because I taught in the school that my kids were in. And so as far back as that goes, kind of go back for a second, I asked both my girls if they would be okay if I was a teacher in the school that they were attending.
Yeah.
So this happened again. I was like, are you okay if daddy becomes a pastor? Like, there's this whole PK thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah. And so I was just wanted to make sure they were okay with it. And they both supported me and my wife supported me. And so the transition happened. I had, my last year was a glorious year in COVID where I didn't teach any more kids. Like, I saw them in March and then they were all gone.
Yes.
And we were working on probably one of my favorite pieces. And we were rehearsing that until the COVID thing happened and we had to cancel it.
Oh,
no.
It was destructive. We never finished the piece.
What show was it?
So that's how I ended my school year. It was just like on a wah-wah. It's like, okay, everybody's on a video camera. We're saying goodbye to each other and I'm not coming back to the school. So,
that's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a heart wrencher. So that's where I am. I'm the associate pastor at Grace Chapel Fairview. We're growing so big. My title's going to change soon. And, we don't even have our building yet under construction, but we're sort of preparing for that because if we don't prepare now, we're not going to be ready for it. So I'm going to have a different title here pretty soon, but as of right now, currently I'm the associate pastor. Yeah.
What area of ministry are you going to be focusing on?
So my title is going to be executive pastor of care and outreach.
Okay.
So missions, anything that is, that's outside of the church, counseling, all of that. So,
right.
And that's really where I guess my strength lies in that. I mean, I have an administrative background and I enjoy administration, but sometimes even in church, you come across a time when you have to let somebody go. And
right.
It's the hardest. I can't fire people, man. I'm
Yeah.
terrible at it.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it.
Oh.
Let me ask you a question off script. Sorry, we didn't put this in there to prepare you for it, but where have you seen, or can you think of places where you've seen God work in your life, even as far back as, being an intern at a radio station in St. Louis, all the way to now where he was preparing you for this to be in ministry?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because you look, when you get, I'll be 51 next month.
Happy birthday.
When you,
Happy birthday.
Thank you. When you look back, for a Christian, for a believer, you go, man, God had a hand in all of these steps that I was taking.
Yep.
For somebody who's not a believer, they would call it a coincidence.
Sure.
You just did this. You chose this path over this path. But I look back and I go, man, every path if I sat down and wrote a book, every path that I took was directed specifically by him. And I mean, I believe that because there were things that were happening in my life that he steered, like I was direction I was going that he steered me away from and that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
When you're engaged to be married and you think that you have the love of your life, and then all of a sudden just that's not it. It was like, wait, what? What are you talking? What is what?
Yeah.
And had that not happened, I wouldn't have moved to Nashville. I wouldn't have met Heather's brother. I wouldn't have met Heather, and so you can, for a non-believer, they may say it's coincidence, but for me, I can go back and look as far back as high school and think of things that happened, places that I wasn't in where buddies died or death occurred or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember, when I owned my first house, I had just a miraculous thing that happened. My friend of mine who rented a room from me, he and I barbecued we did a charcoal barbecue. And then we went out that night and it was going to rain. So we put the barbecue, we're young idiots. We put the barbecue pit underneath in the garage. So it wouldn't rain on it, make it all well, we came home and the carbon monoxide detector was going off.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of those moments that you go, wow, God really needed me in a specific place later on in my life. I heard the alarms going off and I was like, it's nothing. We reset them and went to sleep. Yeah. And about 3:00 in the morning, I literally felt shaking, like violent shaking. And I was like, what is happening? And I got up and I was so dizzy and so sick and there was no one standing there.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And that alarm was going off, but it was faint and not loud enough to wake anybody up. And I went in to my buddy's bedroom and I started shaking him and I couldn't wake him up. And then finally I got him up and he's like, what? And we're both sick and drowsy. And we got out of the house. My mom and dad lived up the road, got in the car and walked up. The fire department came the next day and the levels of carbon monoxide in that house certainly should have killed us, but killed more people if they were in the house.
Oh, wow.
And so even looking back at that going, man, God saved me there.
Yeah.
Like, and you how do you call that a coincidence? I was violently shook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I opened my eyes and there was no one standing there.
Yeah.
It's just the two of us in the house.
Yeah.
So as far back as that, and then looking at different paths and opportunities and places that I messed up, like even as a Christian where I was just like, man, how did I hold it together through this? I didn't.
Right.
I held it together. And my wife supported me and stood behind me and in the kids, my babies. It's pretty crazy.
Well,
so I see there's probably, I probably could write a book like we all could.
Right.
We all could, and I think the difference is just communicating that as a believer, we go, God had a direction in our life.
Amen.
He had a specific plan for us. And I have, up to this point, just followed through with that. And I don't think he's done.
Amen. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, two things. The first is I'm so glad you met Heather's brother. When you were talking about going back, I was thinking that's pivotal.
Yeah.
But the other thing is you said, as you were trying to make this the decision to move from teacher to administrator and knocking on all these doors. And that's one of the things we've learned is, closed doors are blessings for us now. We used to spend...
They didn't used to be out. Just...
No.
Yeah.
Right. We would knock and knock and knock, and we thought persistence was a good thing. Oh my gosh. And now it's like, oh, that door is closed.
Okay,
Let's find the
someone
open
else.
one.
Yeah.
So we're with you on that. So
yeah. And it was like thinking of music stuff. So here's a great example. I wrote, it was for us when I had the guy that I did the Everly Brothers show with, we ended up getting a record deal with Diadem Records. Well, after being in the studio with a guy, producer, and he used to be an artist named Brent Lamb, we were in there, we recorded, the record label folded. So we had songs that we wrote that were like, somebody's got to record these songs. And there was one song called Intervention Divine that was cut by a pop artist named Casey. She just went by Casey, K-A-C-I. And she cut that, and I was so excited. I was like, this is my first big cut. This is a pop artist doing it. And it was a Christian song. And so she recorded the song. We were so excited about it. 9/11 happens.
Oh, no.
She is on a tour on the East Coast, and she actually in her testimony she saw the plane hit the Pentagon. She watched as that. She was out on the road, saw it from a distance, but saw it.
Oh my word!
Anyway, they diverted her out of New York, and she went to Boston. And obviously, everything changes, even on studio tours with artists.
Right.
And they asked her. They said, "Do you have any song that is worthy of the moment of what we're going through right now?" She said, "Yeah, it's called Intervention Divine." So she played that in a Boston radio station, and it became like the #1 song in Boston and in the East Coast and in certain areas that got that radio set because it was so impactful for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, man, this is selfishly, I was thinking, this is it. This is going to be the song that's going to catapult us as songwriters, and we're going to make money off this, and da 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 da. And it just sort of just died down and faded. Well, then the artist shared with us that there was a girl that was really struggling. She and her brother were by themselves. Their parents were, I think, addicts or something, or gone out of their lives. She was in high school. Her brother was in college. And he was an addict struggling with addictions and stuff like that. And she was literally going home to take her own life. Oh my God. And she turned on the radio station and she heard this song called Intervention Divine. And she sent a letter to Casey, and she decided that there was a bigger plan for her, even as bad as things look for right now.
Amen.
Wow.
So I believe, talking about paths, I thought that song was going to be a song that was going to catapult me personally and financially. And what it did was it saved the life.
Yes.
It gave hope, didn't save the life, but it gave hope to a person who had, had no hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she found that in the lyrics to a song that I wrote. And that, I truly believe that we wrote that song for that one girl.
Amen.
Well, I'll say that. And then I'm working out a couple of weeks ago in Fairview, and this girl comes up to me. She goes, "Can I just talk to you about something?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "When I was a kid, my grandmother passed away, and I didn't know what to do. And I had this song from when I was younger that I loved. I loved this artist, and there was a song on there called Intervention Divine." And that song got me through stuff. And I just started crying. And I was like, okay, Lord, I wrote it for two people.
Okay, two people.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's so many more.
Yes.
I mean, you literally did save a life. That's
incredible.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you did just get back from Costa Rica.
I did.
Tell us about your trip.
Yeah. So there's an organization called Youth Reach. There's several of them. There's Youth Reach Gulf Coast, Youth Reach Houston, which is where it all started. And basically, it's a second chance for troubled boys. Even is so much so that in Texas, the law enforcement and the judges and everybody, they give kids a chance. And they don't put them in prison. They say you need to go and you need to graduate from this program. And so it's rough. I mean, you get some of the roughest of the rough teenagers and kiddos. Well, they have different organizations across the country. And so Shane and Abby Holcomb, who live right here in Fairview, they dug in and were like, we want to start a Youth Reach Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to go down with the team. I'm a board member, and all the board was with us. And we went down to find some land, spend a lot of time in prayer and devotion and, time together as guys. And then we signed some paperwork, because in Costa Rica, if you have a 501c3 and you have a board, the number of board members that you have that represent America, you have to have equally in Costa Rica.
Wow. Okay.
They have to be government officials of some sort.
Wow.
So we got to meet those, and the ones that are on the board, they're great. They're one of them comes out of education,
okay,
which is going to be great for the school, for Youth Reach Costa Rica school. And then we have one that's in finance, and they all have some sort of government tie. So,
good.
We went down there, found a piece of land. It's gorgeous down there. On our free time, which wasn't a lot of it, but I got to go through a huge zip lining course, and then did an 85-meter drop off of a bridge on my anniversary.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
What a trip. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was killer. And I'd never been to Costa Rica. So I came home and I said, baby, if they don't buy this land, you and I are going to buy this land, and we're going to build our house there in the next couple of years.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's great. The people are great. It's known as the happiest people in the world. I mean,
wow.
Y'all, they don't have an army. I didn't know that. Since 1948, they have not had an army.
Wow.
And they're between Nicaragua and Panama.
Oh my gosh. You think they need an army?
Well, you think, but
Yeah.
they don't have one.
Happiest
They're
people
the
on
happiest
there.
people in the world.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Switching gears, if you don't know, the ministry that we've created is all about helping people identify their talents and their gifts, their God-given talents and gifts. And we believe that God has given each of us unique talents and gifts specifically to do the good works that he has set out in advance for us, but also to, as we call it, build our brick in collaboration with him for his kingdom that he's building. And so we love encouraging our listeners, but also our guests, to share what their talents and their gifts are, to give God glory, and then also to share about how, they're using those gifts and talents. So we would love to hear from you what you think your God-given gifts and talents are.
Wow. Yeah. So I would think, as far as spiritual gifts go, I think a lot of people, when they hear the word pastor, that means so many different things. And to some people, they go, well, that's the guy that stands up on Sunday mornings and preaches every Sunday. And it can be.
Right.
For me, which I would consider myself a pastor, and I am, and it's even in my title, it's to pastor the people. It's to love on the people. It's to be there for the ones that are hurt. If their relatives are in the hospital, I'm there at the hospital, or in the parking lot in this world we live in right now. And I think it's getting better, but I think for sure that the Lord has provided me communication skills.
Yes.
Where people feel comfortable sharing things with me, and they know that I'm not going to share those things. I'm listening to them. Sometimes people just want to talk. They just want to get it off their chest, right? And sometimes they want answers, and I do my best in trying to walk through those valleys with them. And listen, I am a human and will fail over and over. But I think the gift of communication and pastoring he has given me. Like I told you earlier, I made a joke as like, I can't fire people. That's just one of the things that, like, there's too many people that are hurting for reasons and mistakes professionally that are made. You can make big mistakes and you can make little mistakes, but either way, they're mistakes. And most people regret the mistakes that they've made. And so they just want to talk about those mistakes. They want to feel like there's still hope. Like, what can I do? How can I pull myself out of this hole? And I just lean on God. And before every meeting or counseling session or opportunity that I have, I just communicate with him. It's like, Lord, just use me however you're going to use me. Help me to say the right words. Help me to not be confusing to them. But most of all, help them to feel loved. And so I think that's a gift that he's given me, no matter what, whether it was through music and songwriting or through entertaining on the Ryman auditorium stage, or through my relationships with my kiddos at school, who I adored every one of them, even the struggles that they were going through. They knew who to come and talk to. Yeah. I mean, there are other, I'm not saying it's like I was the only teacher that anyone talked to. Just me. It's
only
like,
you alone.
Because that's a lot to carry too. So, but they knew, and I say they knew who to come talk to. They knew that they had a confidential place to come and say, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? Can you guide me and walk me through this? Yeah. And, obviously there's those situations where if a kiddo threatens to hurt themselves or something, that I have to report it, or they threaten that they've been hurt, I have to report it. But they always had a confident in me, to help them and guide them. And I think it's the same for church. We are building a church, and like literally building a church. We started off just like we were planted from Grace Chapel Franklin, and we just went hot and heavy. It's like boom, it exploded. Like our first day, we opened the doors to 800 people in 2 services.
Oh,
like
that's
just
great.
like, where do we go? What do we do? And then COVID hit, and then it just went down because you weren't allowed to meet. So we created the home church model, to where you could open up your computer on a Sunday morning, see a map of Fairview with red dots all over it. Pick one of those red dots, register, go to that house to have worship, and then we would stream the worship and the message to that house. Yeah. And so that kept us going. And then the schools reached out back this last May. They reached back out to us and said, we'd like to have you come back. Would you guys consider that? And we said, yeah. And they put us in Westwood Elementary, and that's where we are. So building a church has been a challenge, and it's been I think a gift, because you have to, it's tough. It's hard. And there's, people need people, and they need relationship, and most importantly, they need the Lord. And,
amen.
And I think that is, I'm just one of those places, and the Lord is using me to be able to talk to people through their struggles and through their pain.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, I love music. Obviously, that is one thing that I love, and I still try to. My daughter and I, my 17-year-old and I, try to write songs together, because she loves music. I sort of passed that down to her.
Nice.
So yeah, those are just a couple of things.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, we are so grateful for your
Yes.
time. What a great conversation. You are such an amazing vessel that God is using.
Amen.
And we're just really blessed to have met you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and
Thank you.
for sharing with
I'm
us.
honored I've been able to do this, and I'm so glad that we got to meet at the Opryland Hotel, Diane.
Yeah, that was great.
I met him first in Centennial Park. So.
Yes, you did.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. For more information on Project Brickworks, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. Subscribe to our newsletter or text BRICK to 55498 to get the latest news and updates. We love y'all. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.